Holy! We actually still do this show! Welcome everybody back to the J&J's Double Play. It's been a little minute, but here we are about to do another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the MLB free agency, who's improved and who is disapproved. And let's see, what else have we got on store for them today, Jack?
Well, for starters, I just got back from the MLB winter meetings.
Don't you mean you went to the city, got drunk, and lost all your money?
That's exactly right. But I did go to Mandalay Bay where they did have the winter meetings, so I was able to see where they put the MLB network set. So technically, I was there on assignment. I just went a few days after the winter meetings. But like he said, what's up? Welcome back to the J&J's Double Plays channel. I know it's been a while since we have produced a video content. We did take that vacation in Florida, so that was the last time we posted. But now, going forward and going into the 2019 year, we're going to try to do more videos consistently on a weekly basis. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our MLB free agent tracker for the 2019 offseason. Starting off, we're going to talk about which teams we believe have improved the most and which teams have improved the least. Andy, in your opinion, which team do you feel has improved the most over this offseason so far?
Oh, it's hands down the Mariners.
Wait, what?
Oh, I thought you meant which team got worse. No, in all seriousness, I want to say it's the Mets because they got a franchise player now in Robinson Cano. They have two all-star caliber closers in Jerry's Familia and Edwin Diaz. And I think if their starting rotation stays healthy, they have a real chance to win that division.
I'll agree with you on that one. I do think they're maybe one player away, maybe say a Marwin Gonzalez or even one more quality outfielder away from being a true contender in the National League. But my pick is the other team in New York, the New York Yankees.
Boo.
I know. I hate the Yankees too, but to be fair and objective, I really want to say that this team has gotten better the most since the 2019 offseason. I think their additions of James Paxton and their re-signing of J.A. Happ really have solidified their rotation. They got CC Sabathia for a cheap one-year deal just to be a fifth starter. If they can get a good trade for Sonny Gray, which I'm hearing that the Milwaukee Brewers could be interested in taking him off their hands and maybe getting some good pitching prospects in return, this Yankees team could definitely be rebolstered and rebound in the 2019 season. But Yankees still suck. I'm sorry, we're an objective channel. I won't say that.
And speaking of teams that suck, let's talk about the team that's going on the most downfall, the Seattle Mariners. Like, in one word, what would you describe what they're doing?
So this one hurts a little bit to say because last year the Mariners were my team that I picked to win the wild card and maybe even potentially be a dark horse candidate in the American League playoffs. Also to mention, I said in a previous video that Mitch Haniger and Gene Segura, along with James Paxton, were the future of this team. And now two of those players are gone, with only Mitch Haniger left to patrol that decimated team. This team was supposed to be a perennial playoff contender for years to come, and had it not been for Robinson's Cano suspension, they probably would have at least made the playoffs this year, maybe even the wild card, and bested the Oakland A's. And now they're just essentially throwing this team away because they don't want to be stuck in no man's land for much longer. To be blunt, I think this rebuild is completely unnecessary. I'm sorry, I know that's more than one word, but I think the Seattle Mariners rebuilding is not a good step for this franchise. I would say other teams that have hit rock bottom are teams like the Baltimore Orioles and the Miami Marlins, but at what point does it become beating a dead horse? I mean, those two franchises are just going to dwell on the bottom for the next 5 to 10 years, so we could go into detail for why they suck, but there's probably not much else to say. So let's change gears and start talking about the individual free agents. As you know, this channel, we are big Astros fans, so we wanted to talk about what are some free agents that the Astros can get in addition to the already signed Robinson Chirinos and Michael Brantley. Andy, what is your pick for who the Astros should get this offseason?
My pick is someone they actually had last year, Martin Maldonado. I think he worked very well with our pitchers. He is probably the best defensive catcher in the game. I mean, have you seen his arm? He can throw out any base runner. And I think he worked well with like our bullpen guys. He really worked well with Osuna. So I feel Martin Maldonado would be a tremendous asset back to the Astros.
It's funny you mentioned that because Martin Maldonado essentially took the starting catcher role because he works actually better with guys like Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole than guys like Brian McCann and Max Stassi did. I initially thought going into this season that Max Stassi would be the starting catcher going forward for the Astros, but the way that Verlander and Cole pitched to him was different, and it just seemed like they were never completely in sync with one another. That's why I believe they brought in Robinson Chirino so that way he could have that experienced starting catcher in the clubhouse. I, for one, believe we should at least talk to Dallas Keuchel and Scott Boras to see if we can bring him back for at least a 2-year deal, maybe somewhere along the lines of 2-year, $40 million, if his other teams don't work out for him, because we're going to miss a guy like Dallas Keuchel in our rotation.
I'll see your Dallas Keuchel, and I'll raise you a Madison Bumgarner. I think the Astros should legitimately look at trying to make a trade for him because he's arguably the most dominant pitcher in the World Series history. He is a crafty lefty, and I think with a good team around him, he will be able to shine just like how Garrett Cole did this year. So I agree that the Astros need to get a starting left-handed pitcher, but I really believe it could be Mad Bum.
That would just be a perfect fit. But that's the Astros side of things. Let's look at the 2 biggest free agents in baseball this season. That's right. We're talking about 2 cornerstone players that can totally turn a franchise around. We're talking none other than the legends of Devin Mesoraco and the GOAT, Carlos Gomez.
How dare you disrespect the name GOAT? We all know that's saved for one man and one man only.
Bartolo! I should not be allowed to talk sports anymore. I am very, very sorry, Mr. Bartolo Colon. Please forgive me. But in all seriousness, we're here to talk about Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and we have some thoughts on where we believe that they are going to land, and I'll start first. I think Manny Machado is going to end up with the New York Yankees, with Didi Gregorius going out for the season with Tommy John surgery, or at least for a good portion of the season. There is a huge vacant hole at shortstop for New York, and it would be a perfect fit for Manny Machado to go to the Yankees, thus bolstering this already good team. With Bryce Harper, he's a little bit more tricky. I initially thought that the Nationals were going to re-sign him at the beginning of the season, but it looks like Scott Boras and him don't really want anything to do with the Washington Nationals. So I will admit I'm wrong. He's not going to stay in Washington, but I believe Bryce Harper is going to end up with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They just traded Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp to free up space in the outfield and have a whole lot more cap room now to sign a big-name free agent like Bryce Harper. Putting Bryce Harper in Hollywood would essentially guarantee the Dodgers to go back to the World Series for a 3rd time.
Now, I do agree with you with all your points about Manny Machado. I think he's destined to go to the Bronx. And like you said, Didi's going to be out for at least 4 months of the season, and Manny Machado is arguably one of the best shortstops in the game, so there's no doubt that he'll end up in the Bronx. But I do have to disagree with you about Bryce Harper. I believe he's going to end up being a Chicago Cub. Why? Because of 2 reasons. One, Jason Hayward is hurt now, and that leaves a gaping hole in right field that desperately needs to be filled in. And I really believe that Bryce Harper is perfect in Chicago because of the climate around Chicago. It's a hitter's friendly ballpark, and he wants to be in contention for the playoffs. That's the whole reason he won't sign with Washington, because he doesn't believe that Washington can get it done.
Which has been proven. He played almost all of last season, and even with guys like Matt Scherzer and Steven Strasburg manning that rotation, that team still wasn't good enough to even win the National League East, arguably the worst division in baseball last year. And they really haven't done much to get better. I mean, yeah, they signed Patrick Corbin, but what good is a good starting rotation if you don't have an offense to go along with it? I definitely see why Bryce Harper wants out of Washington. The Cubs point, I'll agree with you to some extent. I do think he does want to go to a contender like Chicago, but I just think he'll get more money in Los Angeles, and that's why I picked the Dodgers over the Cubs. But the Cubs definitely is not a bad fit for him either. But in final, our predictions for Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, both Andy and I agree that Manny Machado will go to the Yankees, and we are indifferent about Bryce Harper. I believe he's going to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Andy thinks he's going to the Chicago Cubs. Let's talk about some of the other free agents on the market right now, most notably Dallas Keuchel, as previously mentioned earlier. I said earlier at the beginning of the season that Dallas Keuchel would go to the strong contender for the American League West, Seattle Mariners. I will take that L gladly. That was before they even traded James Paxton to the Yankees. So in my new pick, I can see him going to a team like the Milwaukee Brewers or the Philadelphia Phillies or even the Cincinnati Reds. I think it would benefit him the most to go to the National League so that he doesn't have to face American League hitting and he can get a fresh new start in a new league. And if I had to pick one of those three teams, I would say the best team to go to would be the Milwaukee Brewers, but ultimately I do think he ends up in Philadelphia.
I'm also going to have to take an L on this one because I thought that the Astros would be able to re-sign Keuchel.
There's still a chance. You're saying there's a chance.
It's looking less and less likely they will, but, let's hope and pray. But I think he's going to end up in Philadelphia. Like Jack said, it's the National League. He would have a fresh start, and I believe that Philly could benefit from having another great starting pitcher to add on to Jake Arrieta and Aaron Nola. That would be a great 1-2-3 punch, and they would be in real contention with the Braves to win the National League East. But enough of these small-time free agents. I want to talk about the biggest one out there. Carlos Gomez, the greatest Astro of all time. He single-handedly led them to the 2015 playoffs, and he single-handedly led the Texas Rangers to the 2016 playoffs. And let's face the facts. He has more wins in the playoffs than the Cowboys have had in the last 20 years. So where do you think he's going? I personally think that the Major League isn't ready to handle Carlos Gomez, so I think he's going to go play for the Dominican.
Your Cowboys comment is completely inappropriate for a baseball talk. That is a discussion we will have later on, sir. But I see Carlos Gomez signing, maybe a one-year deal with, the Royals. They need an outfielder, need a veteran. Yeah, that's what I think of Carlos Gomez. The final free agent I wanted to talk about was Craig Kimbrell of the Boston Red Sox. Craig Kimbrell is the last remaining free agent for the Boston team that already re-signed Nathan Eovaldi and Steve Pearce to further bolster their already good team. I ultimately think that he is going to remain with the Boston Red Sox and try to help them win another World Series, but that's not going to happen 2 years in a row. I'm already confirming that right now because the Seattle Mariners will bounce back. No, but in all seriousness, I do think he's going to stay with the Boston Red Sox. What are your thoughts on Craig Kimbrell?
I think he's going to go back home to Atlanta. I think now that Atlanta is a proven playoff team, I really believe that he'll go back home as a welcome hero and as a world champion, be that veteran presence in that bullpen, and ultimately lead them to become the old Braves where they were dominating in the 90s, dominating that division.
All right, and that'll do it for this baseball update for the J&J's Double Play channel. Thank you again for listening. I know it's been a while since we have produced any new content.
Yeah, so we kind of want to update everybody, making sure that we don't just leave you guys out in the dark and be gone for 2 months. We are still doing the channel. It's just our schedules have been so busy, and with me going back to school soon, that we just want to keep able to find time to do this. But we promised each other, and we're promising our fans right now, in the year 2019, we're going to start making this a regular thing like we wanted to when we first started this channel. We love doing the show. We love talking sports. We love hearing your comments, your feedback. So we're going to try to do this show every 2 weeks and at least have a video out for y'all. And hopefully over time, once we can get into a rhythm and a pattern, that we can start producing videos every week for y'all.
And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys for understanding. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for checking out the J&J's Double Play channel. Have a great day.